Good evening, good afternoon, good both of those things. I am Shannon Hughes, your host of the See Us podcast. Thank you all for joining us again for another Sunday of our show. As a reminder, the See Us podcast, we are here to amplify the voices of our people, the ones that are typically ignored, the ones that are typically silenced and erased. And it's generally like there's a lot of dope stuff that happens in our city, in our county, that no one ever hears about, right? Like, or very few people hear about. So we are here to make sure that we are spreading light on what we have going on, be it if one of us needs to be surrounded and supported because we need to be advocated for, or if we have something dope that's happening, which our guest today has something dope that is happening and we need to surround them and support them, anything and everything in between that. So we are here for that very purpose. Thank you all for listening in. It is our narrative that is our superpowers. Like, our narrative is what gives us power. It's how our society is built and destroyed is on our narrative. So it's imperative that we are listening to each other and witnessing each other. As always, we give honor and respect to Leroy Powell. If you were unaware, Leroy was 15 years old in 2014. He witnessed an attempted murder turned infanticide, and gave witness statement. And the story of Leroy is that our local news stations decided that it was a good idea to show this child, this 15-year-old boy, and his mother as he was giving witness statement on the 11 o'clock news. Immediately, he received death threats and he was killed several days after that. That was absolutely the fault of our local media. They know it, they're aware of it, and they didn't care. So that's also, if there's no other reason that we should hold our media accountable, it is literally our lives. So make sure you are always holding local media accountable. Make sure you are holding them to salt. If someone shoves a camera in your face after a tragedy, you can tell them no. You don't have to answer them. Like, they have no authority. You can tell them, I'll talk to you later. You can ask for their portfolio to see what type of journalists they are. You can do all of those things. You do not have to respond to them. So keep that in mind. If anyone from media, our local media, especially white-led media, quite frankly, comes up, it shows up in your community asking for information, asking about events, asking about your neighbors and yourself and your families, because it literally can mean life or death for any of us. As a reminder, as always, it only takes about 25% of the community for change to occur. So do not let anyone make you think that you need everybody to be on board for something to happen. You don't. Take it from someone who knows. Like it could be very few people that's on board with me, and I'm like, I don't care. This is wrong, and this is what we're going to do. And I'll keep going, and it'll just be me and my little sign, or me, or whatever it is, and then I'll keep going, and then eventually folks will hear me, and then eventually folks will join on, and then eventually we'll see change happen. That's always how it happens. Like, it's never, okay, we got everybody together and now change happens. Change is always happening. So don't think that you need the banner. Don't think that you need the crowd and the mob and whatever to back you up for you to do your thing. You can do your thing. You are fine. You got this. Always. Reminder tomorrow that today's news, Changing Our Narrative, will be playing at 7 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube. QK Productions on YouTube is at Black News 325. Twitter is at Black News 325 as well. They cover our local and national news, current events, super important information. The one show that I really appreciated, they were talking about birth work and birth workers like doulas and midwives and such. That was eye-opening, like eye-opening to say the least. And that's, like, all of their episodes are super impactful and filled with information. But that's the one that sticks out in my mind mostly for me. So if you have not had a chance to catch them, I do recommend that you do. If you are a person who are dealing with having a difficult time paying rents or utilities at this moment, the rent relief program is still going on. It'll be going on until December. You can apply online at covidrentrelief.alleghenycounty.us, or you can drop at any of the drop-in centers around the county. The Wellness Collective is hosting one of the drop-in centers in McKeesport. That's 337 Fifth Avenue, McKeesport, PA, 15132. We're there Monday through Friday, most days from 10 to 6. On Thursdays, it's 12 to 8. On Thursdays, it's 12 to 8. On Thursdays, it's 12 to 8. So if you show up at 10 on Thursday, you'll be waiting until 12. But, drop in whenever. We also have a little food pantry and a little free store. So if you want to just come in and grab some stuff, that's perfectly fine as well. You don't need to do anything weird. Just come in and get what you want and go. And that's cool. All right, I think I'm done running my mouth. So I appreciate y'all bearing with me for that. So today is super cool. And what makes this episode today cool for me is that if you all remember several months back, several of our community members, shout out to Miss Renee Wilson, and several others, we were talking about what does it look like for us to have infrastructure in our community, essentially. What is a crisis, what do we call it? A crisis support system or something of that nature. But what does it look like for when tragedy strikes in our community, big or small? Like, how do we respond to it? And in several of those conversations, we talked about public safety, right? Like, there's no secret that the police show up and they're super violent in our communities. Not always, of course, but I feel like I don't even need to say that, and I hate that it feels like you have to have this disclaimer, like not all the police. We already know that, like that's whatever, like but the police are violent. like that's a very real thing. Shout out to Dodge, my cat. And so like because that is a reality, right? Like that is just our reality. Then what does it look like for us to be safe in our community, right? Like what does it look like for us to call on, like a public safety person, official, whatever, like when there is crisis, when we have needs, when we need support, and they actually show up. And they show up and they don't cause more harm. And they show up and they don't then criminalize the victim, like the person who was calling them in the first place. Like they show up and actually know what's going on or how to manage the circumstance, which, isn't always the case, when they show up, when the police show up. And so one of the things that came up is like, well, how do we protect our own community? And so I'm super excited that today we have Reginald Smith joining us to talk about his business. He is very much answering that question. So the synergy there is beautiful. So I definitely want to bring on Reginald Smith, if you could jump on with us. What's going on? How are you? Oh, you're muted, bro.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you go.
You got me? I can't hear you.
Now I'm muted. I'm tripping today. It's a day, I guess. Can you hear me all right?
I got you.
Word up. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me on your show.
Most definitely. I appreciate you being here. In our conversations leading up to this point, I honestly can't express enough thanks and gratitude for your purpose and your mission in life, because it's certainly what we need. And I'm excited for other people to learn what you do and how you got here, and then also like what this is going to look like for you and us, like moving forward. But before we get into all of the great things that you do, where are you from, Reggie? Can I call you Reggie?
Come, Reggie. Yep. I'm from Homewood, the east side of Pittsburgh. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm from Homewood. Yep. I'm from Homewood, the east side of Pittsburgh. Grew up in Homewood all my life. Attended the high school, Westinghouse High School. Just trying to get some things in order in our black communities. There's a lot going on with this violence and stuff like that. And we got a lot of these young cats running around, should I say, just with no type of guidance. So me being from the streets, I'm just trying to bring some type of structure back to show them that I was too from the streets, and if I can make it out, you can too. And I think it starts with us, especially male figures. If we could just get in their head and teach them and show them some type of some structure, that they could be on a better path. And it's not just for Homewood, but it's for all the other black neighborhoods in the city.
Word up. Got you. Most definitely. So, like, it's no secret that you are the owner of a black owned security company. But I'm curious about how you got to this point. So, how you come from kid from Homewood, went to Westinghouse to owning a security company? What's your path been?
My journey began way back. A little story to tell. I ran the streets in the '90s when the gangs and stuff were heavy. I'm glad I wasn't a part of the gang activity, but a lot of my friends were. So being young, you make a lot of bad decisions in your life, and eventually they'll catch up to you. And I was one of those people who made some bad decisions in my life. Then when I got to a certain age, I figured like, I want to slow down and take care of my family. And I couldn't do a lot of things because I had a real bad rap sheet. My record was long. I had like 4 felonies, 16 cases, and I used to tell myself time and time again, like, man, I can't get a job. I can't do nothing. I might as well go back to the streets and do this and that. But I had to sit down and ask myself, like, let me get myself together and figure out a plan to try to get my record clean. So I did a lot of research. It started out with the expungements. I went to neighborhood legal services, asked questions, and what they told me was they was able to help me um, through the manner charges, and I was able to get those expunged off my record. But when it came to the felonies, of course, you have to go governor, which is a longer process, and it's way harder, even if you get accepted. So I reached out to a couple of lawyers, and it was just a lot of money, 5,000 and up just to start off, just even to look at your record. So I did some research on my own, and was on the computer, and I said, you know what? Let me try to do this on my own. So one thing led to another. I started the process, and it took me maybe about, I'm gonna say, 2.5 to 3 years, and seeing light at the end of the tunnel. Before you know it, I was granted a pardon through the governor of Pennsylvania, and once they granted me that pardon, it was like all doors open for me. It was like I was a born again baby. No record. I could do whatever I want. I could get any type of job that I wanted. Um, you know, uh, so I figured out I would test myself and go a little further. I said, well, okay, um, I need a license to carry. So I applied for that. Once I applied for the license to carry, I said, well, you know what? Let me try to go to school for my Act 235 clearance. Um, so I went through the process with the state of Pennsylvania State Police, passed physical examinations, my eye examinations, psychological. Things was looking up for me. So I said, let me take it another step forward. Once I did that, I got my certification, finished the school. I said, you know what? It wouldn't be a bad idea if I started a security company, my own security company, my first business. So I took it upon myself. I made my website, got on Facebook, started promoting my own my own company. I named it JDJ Private Securities, which is named after my kids, Jasmine, Daymere, and Jamere. You know, um, and phones start ringing off the hook. We need you for this job. Can you help us with this job? We have an event up at Homewood Field. We need security. We would feel more comfortable if we had a black security officer or a black police officer who's from the neighborhood to attend these events. So I did a couple events, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna take this a little bit farther, apply for my LLCs, get the insurance, and then what I'll do is I'll hire uh, other people, mainly these younger men that's out here in the streets, to give them an outlet, just to show them that, look, I ran the streets, I had a record, I've been in jail before. Everything can change if you're willing to put in the footwork. If you're willing just to take the time out to listen to a guy like myself, because there's other people out there who are willing to help these young men, to change their life around. So that's pretty much my goal, not only for the men but for the women too. You know what I mean? To show them that you can get a good job, you can own your own business as a black man. You just have to put in the legwork and don't let no one tell you you can't. Don't feel like it's the end of the world. Even at my age, we have adults, coming home from jail and, oh man, I can't get no job. I got a record. Child support is going to kill me. No, there's ways and there's outlets and there's um, opportunities still for black men out here. Like I said, again, you just have to put the legwork in, and figure out what you want to do in life and to cross over to that better path.
Yes. Wow. Thank you for sharing all that. I just want to, I see we're having some technical issues. So like there's been a little bit of like choppiness and a delay. We were able to hear you okay, but I just wanted to, speak that out in case anyone's having a hard time. But it was beautiful to hear all of that from you. One thing I wanted to acknowledge that, again, the thing that we know, but like to hear it, it just like kind of reinforces how jacked up the system is like, once you have a record, like it makes it extremely difficult to be gainfully employed, right? Like which means that, all right, well I guess I'm going to do what I know how to do to survive, to make money, and then like end up back in the street, which means you end up back in the system, which is like if the goal is to deter crime, then stopping folks from being able to do something alternatively, then what got them in trouble in the first place seems counterintuitive. I know this is already common sense, but it still like needs to be said every time like we're faced against like the system working against itself. Even the expungement process, which I want to talk to you about that because you led the charge in getting your own pardon and your own expungement, right? Like, but you said when you initially set out, you spoke to some lawyers, and they were talking like $5,000 here and such and such. Like, like who got $5,000 laying around for just this process, right? Like 5,000 plus for just this process, like and that's again like it's just a barrier to like a person wanting to like start their lives over, right? Like move forward, move past, but not being able to because like there's this thousands of dollar barrier like right in front. How much, can I ask if it's okay, how much did you end up paying altogether for your pardon and the expungement, et cetera, et cetera?
Uh, I would say no more than maybe $78. And the reason why I'm saying 78, it wouldn't have cost me that much money. But you have to fax papers, copy papers, you know, um, little passport photos and stuff like that. So I was roughly around $78 would cost you to get your freedom back, opposed to paying for a lawyer. Because, like I said, it's basically all about money. We know lawyers want money. The same thing you could be doing that a lawyer do, you could do yourself. You know what I mean? Because they're basically going to go get information that's free for you downtown at the city of Pittsburgh at the public courts. And if you have a tablet or an iPhone, nowadays you can look your records up on your phone. They actually charge you at a lawyer's office a nice amount of money just to go in there for about 30 seconds to look your whole record up. So, and you don't have to be computer literate. I mean, computer smarts and a genius to just go in there. You punch in a few numbers, your social security number, your name and birth date, you have your record. So you know what you're looking at. Um, then they ask you, once you get started, after that, a couple steps further, they ask you for a certain type of information. Well, we need a picture photo of you. You go to Walgreens and get that for maybe $1, $2. It's little things like that. It's real cheap if you take the time out and do the process on your own. I just didn't see myself spending, one, I didn't have that type of money at the time. And two, I just didn't see myself paying a lawyer that amount of money for something I could do on my own, and also whether I would have gotten the pardon or if I would have got denied, it would have been a learning experience because even if you do get denied, you could still appeal it and you could fight and start all over again. So anything you did the first time wrong, you could correct your mistakes and go back. And it's free. Opposed to a lawyer, once you appeal it, you can pay all that money again and you got to do the whole process over. But uh, $78.
I think Reggie's frozen.
Uh, get your freedom back. So that's it's frozen.
Yeah, I think you back now.
Okay, let me see. Am I?
While you works that out, I definitely just like I'm kind of like mind blown about the fact like Reggie Smith paid $78, a total of $78. That's for the process for this pardon and his expungement. Um, a total of $78. Whereas if you go to a lawyer, it is thousands and thousands of dollars. Like, and you might be denied. And if you're denied and you need to appeal it, then it's thousands and thousands of dollars more. Like, it's so wild how it's like this machine just eats on itself. Like this idea of the justice system, which is supposed to again like protect us from harm and crime, right, and prevent crime from happening. But how is that even the case when there's all of these barriers that really don't need to be there, right? Like there's really no reason for all of these barriers to be there, for folks to get, to set their lives right, to access basic needs. Like, there should not be so many hurdles to just getting a job, like so that you can support yourself, like so you're not on the street, like, so that you're not starving, your family isn't starving. And it's just like it's also blowing my mind, like just the uh it feels like dishonesty, right? Like it feels like dishonesty to me. And I know lawyers, like they do hard work, in a lot of ways, and their time should be paid for. But to charge someone who is trying to remove like felonies and criminal record of whatever sort from their record, and charging them thousands of dollars, charging a person who cannot be gainfully employed, reasonably without this expungement, charging them thousands of dollars for something daggone well it doesn't cost that much and they can do it on their own, feels very dishonest to me, personally. So, but anyway, just wanted to note that. But I think it's amazing, Reggie, that you set out, and did it on your own. You didn't get discouraged and was like, well, I guess I'm just going to go back to the street, or I'm going to have to work these like penny any jobs and try to make something shake. And there's no shade for anybody who feels discouraged, because there's a lot of discouraging things about that, right? Like there's a lot of good reason to give up, or feels that way. So the fact that you didn't, like, it feels like, oh, like you had something placed upon your life, that this is the journey you were meant to be on, not only for yourself but for the community that you are from and around, and all of us. So I'm curious, because you were able to strike out this way on your own. Do you have any interest, or are you working on anything to help other folks who are needing the same type of support in like getting the expungement and the pardon? Like, are you doing anything with that? Does your business model include anything to help folks with that process?
Well, when I first started the process almost 3 years ago, and I'll say this: the process might not take 3 years now, because they're doing it now to where it's a speedy process. So you wouldn't have to wait for 3 years, 2.5 to 3 years. So it's a little quicker now. So what I'm trying to do also in that era, I reached out to a few people, and I'm gonna talk to Ed Gainey and a couple other people. I'm trying to partnership with other companies, even Duquesne Law School, because they need a voice. You know, they'll do their part in helping with the expungements, but they need someone to get out there and branch out to the community, because the communities has no way of knowing that, oh, okay, they're doing pardons, or they're helping people with expungements, or they have information. So I want to try to be that person who could reach out to people and come to different neighborhoods. Like, look here, we're having an expungement process on this day, and then we're doing pardons on this day. We would love for you to come out and participate, and just to see what it's about, gather some information up. And if you don't need a pardon or expungement, maybe you might need, maybe your son or daughter or your husband could qualify. So hopefully down the line, I could partnership with someone who's willing to help me branch out to different neighborhoods to help other people get their records clean. So basically, I'm politicking right now.
Word up, word up. So getting that groundwork going. I feel you. That's what's up. All right. So as far as your security company, where are you all today? And where are you looking to grow? Like, what direction are you looking to grow into as you continue to move forward?
Well, my company just hit me all at once. Things just start moving. It start booming so quick. So we're located out of my home, actually. It's family oriented. I have my wife as my secretary. I brought along three good friend of mine who also have their certifications. Um, so I only have three employers at this moment, but eventually I'll have more. I just applied for my LLC and the insurance for the company. So what we do starting off, we'll do private events. You have a wedding event or some type of ceremony, and you need some private security, um, and we're affordable. We do events at Homewood Football Field. Uh, any type of event you would need, personal security, escorts, stuff like that. Even I have done volunteer work. I volunteer some of my time, my security time. We don't feel comfortable with going to a football game. We can't afford to pay for security. Don't worry about it. This is my neighborhood. You know what I mean? This is my way of giving back. I'll come down. And people tend to feel more secure with a person who's armed. You know, it's a sad situation that nowadays you have to go to football games and other events, and you have to be armed, because back in the day it wasn't like that. But when you make your presence felt the right way as far as security, people feel way more comfortable. So that's my job. Just starting off with small events, and then eventually we'll branch out and do bigger things. But my main goal right now is for the community.
Word up. What area do you serve? Do you only service like in the Homewood area, or do you branch out further than that?
Well, I just got my website up, and I have a personal telephone number and an email with, and I'm on Facebook. You can reach me at either one of those numbers, and we'll come to you. Wherever your event is, we're there. You know what I mean? If it suits us and everything's right, we're there. We'll come to you. But like I said, my business right now is located in Homewood. So wherever they need us, we're there. Just give us a call.
Word up. Thank you for that. I want to touch on what you had said. Like, folks are more comfortable with armed folks, which, I mean, unfortunately, like, that is the case in a lot of circumstances. Because you just feel safer when someone is, able to protect you in that way, and that's their role. I think it's also, and you and I have talked about this, like having someone who is from your community, who looks like you, who understands you being there to protect you, as opposed to someone who is not, like, a police officer who is not from your community, who doesn't understand you, doesn't look like you, maybe makes you feel like more unsafe, rather than safe. Is that something that you have experienced in your line of work so far?
Um, well, living in Homewood, I could say, in especially like back in the '90s, we all and running in the streets. We are the police officers. We know who the first police officer was. We know who the plain uniform cops were in uniform. We knew everyone. So there was times that I got pulled over, and a rookie would come up to my car and put your hands up, and they give me license registration. Well, what am I being pulled over for? You know what I mean? Or even being walking down the streets. It happened as a teenager and also as an adult. You know what I mean? You with your family, all of a sudden you're surrounded by three or four officers. You get a little rage inside of you, like, you know what I mean. You want to fight back, but they're uniformed police officers. There's too much you could do, or you're into that system to where now you're being arrested. Now you have to go to court. Now you have to pay for a lawyer. And 9 times out of 10, they want you to take a plea bargain. You take the plea, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. Now you're looking at, either a felony charge. You know what I mean? So that record comes about. So with black officers or security guards in the neighborhood, 9 times out of 10, they're from that neighborhood and they could relate to a person. You might see a person who's walking down the street. Hey, let me talk to you for a second. Come on, put the beer down. You can't have the beer open. Throw the beer away. You know what I mean? Go drink in the house or whatever. Opposed to a white officer, the first thing they do, they see you. You shouldn't have that beer out. Put the beer down. I need ID. Put your hands behind your back. You know what I mean? So my job is to make our communities, the elders, the women, and the children feel more comfortable. And then once they see me putting everything in motion, then hopefully it'll be a domino effect. You know what I mean? We'll have a domino effect, and more people will start bringing issues to the table, and we'll learn about how to bring more policing and security to our communities, and it benefits everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and we know that for a fact, right? Like, when our security, when we're being secured by people who are from our community or looks like us, understands us, like it just works out better. And I can't help but to think, as you were talking about giving that example about, like, the beer, like, it makes me think about Bruce Kelly Jr. and his dad. Bruce Kelly Jr. was murdered by Pittsburgh police, Port Authority police, and Wilkinsburg police, while he and his dad were out drinking a beer, having a beer at the little pavilion out there in Wilkinsburg. Bruce Kelly Jr. Was known and diagnosed with schizophrenia. They chased that man. They beat him with nightsticks. They followed him through a couple folks' yard, and then surrounded him. And it was three separate police departments, right? Like, just following this man who was not acting out aggressively. He wasn't attacking nobody. Like, the man was having a beer with his dad at the pavilion. This person who the police knew had schizophrenia. And they chased him down. They surrounded him. They had the police dogs. And Bruce had his knife, and he said, if y'all let that dog go on me, I'm going to kill the dog. And they let the dog off on him, and they murdered him. Like, they shot Bruce in the back of the head and kept shooting him. And he lost his life. His dad went to jail, you know, um, because he was drinking a beer in a pavilion, you know, and I'm thinking about like how that difference is, right? Like a community member who knows you, recognize you, like, ah, that's Bruce. Come on, man, go in the house. Like, y'all know y'all shouldn't be here. Versus, like, being chased down and beaten because you're drinking a beer outside. It also makes me think about, my mother was a police officer when I was a kid, actually. And she was in zone 2, and it was it was always funny, like, hearing stories about, like different wild things that would happen. But it was always funny because it was like, it was always community, right? Like, and it was so much community that for a time, one of our dogs that we grew up with, Popo, it was this little boxer pit mix dog, wild dog. The dog was wild, but the dog wasn't ours. Like, the dog belonged to a person that my mom arrested. Like, dude had to go to jail for like 2 years or something like that. It wasn't super long, but it was long enough that he didn't have anybody to take the dog. So he asked my mom to take in the dog because he didn't want his dog to get killed. And so we took in the dog, And so we had Popo for it was like 2 years or so. We had this little wild dog. He was a funny thing, but the dog was wild. And then when the guy got out, like, my mom gave the dog back. Like, it was that type of community, right? Like, it is such a different, and that's not uncommon for white officers. It's just uncommon when it comes to our communities and white officers, right? Like, and it's not necessarily, and I say white, when I say white, I'm really speaking on whiteness, because it doesn't mean there aren't Black officers that aren't also violent towards us, like, or Asian officers that aren't also violent towards us, right? Like, that's just policing generally, right? Like, that they're trained in a lot of ways. And I say this because I've seen it, right? Like, I'm not speculating. I've seen it and I've heard it. They're training to come into our communities in as if they are walking into a war zone. They're trained to be on guard. They're trained to believe that the people in our communities mean to kill them, mean to cause them harm. And so it's like, you want to make it home at night. So these are your enemy. Like, that's the energy that oftentimes they're given. Not always, but oftentimes, yeah. So yeah, so like, all of that was spinning in my mind as you were talking about, like, and I didn't want to like kind of like breeze past that because it feels important to me, right? Like, to be protected by our own, to be protected by beyond our own, protected by people who see us as people, right? Like, who identify with us, who speak our language, who don't mean to harm us and don't think that we mean them any harm, right? Because if I'm doing something I ain't supposed to do, yeah, shout out to Dodge. Dodge, you want to say hi? Because you all up in the videos dancing. My cat. Anyway, yeah. So, but yeah, like, it's just so very important for us to be protected by people who mean to protect us, like, right, like, who value our lives. So like, shout out to you and your team for that. Shout out to your wife, who's absolutely here in support. Not only with y'all family business, but she's here, watching the episode which you representing. That's super dope. Like, and the direction that you all are going in is super dope. Not only for y'all family, but truly for us all, because we just need each other, and we need to be able to protect each other and love on each other that way. Somebody had said, fear creates violence.
Appreciate you.
Most definitely, most definitely. Someone on Facebook said, fear creates violence. They're afraid of us, so they have to overhandle us issue. Absolutely. Like, that's what it is, in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, that's what it is. And that's a scary place to be in. That is a scary place to be in. My mom used to tell us, like, you do not want to fight somebody who is scared to fight you. They will kill you. Like, because they're so scared, like, they will kill you. Like, so, you know what I mean? So, yeah, that's another thing, but yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else that you want folks to know about JDJ's private security? Any way that folks can get involved in supporting you and y'all growth and development? I think we frozen again. He frozen, dodged, and left me. He ain't trying to be a co-host no more. Blake. All right, so I'm waiting for Reggie to hop back on. Again, appreciate y'all and you all's patient as we deal with the technology. As y'all know, like, tech is going to do what tech is going to do. But as you can see, like, there's a reason for why this episode was so important and so special to me. And I hope that you all feel the same way I do, how special it is. Because truly, like, I mean, safety is paramount. I was recently saying on Facebook, actually, the other day, safety has been one thing that has lacked in a lot of ways in my own life. And because of that, it has, dictated a lot of things about myself. And that's true for a lot of people, right? Like, so like if we don't have safety, it's really hard to have much of anything else because you're constantly trying to protect yourself. And so it's really important that I hope you all, I hope this is landing with you all the way that it's landing for me, the work that Reggie and his family and his company is doing. And I hope that you all, feel compelled to support what they got going on just as much as I do. Reggie, you there? Got your back? Oh, thanks
Yeah,
for
I
the
mean,
shout.
I'm sorry for that. I'm getting a million calls disconnected. I apologize for that.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. So we left off. I was asking,
And
how can folks? Was that? Skirt. You there, Reggie? Can you
I'm
hear me?
here now. I can hear you now.
Bet. All right. I'm sorry. What were you
Yes.
saying?
Can you repeat that question? I couldn't hear you.
Got you. Yeah. So I was asking, is there any way at this present moment for the community, for anyone to support your company, your family's company, the growth? Be it like, do you need folks with information, as you were talking about the just getting folks in the expungement process, like, or do you need folks, are you looking to hire now, do you need folks to send you leads on gigs, like, do you need anything? I'm just spitballing like what that could be, but is there any way that the community can support you, as simple as sharing your information?
Um, well, as of right now, the jobs that we're taking on is pretty much through Facebook and people just passing the word. Again, I wanted to wait until my LLC license came in so we could do everything in a proper manner. What I want people to take out of this interview today is that there are people out there who will be and who are pursuing to help in our communities, and I'm just I would say that the stepping stone. I mean, I'm gonna lead the show. You know what I mean? So like I said, once other black men see an interviewer, like, oh, okay, that's my man. I see what he's doing. I think I need to get involved in that. I'll Let me figure out how I can help him branch out more and even get my own business started. But my goal again is to protect and serve our black communities, which police officers already do. You know what I mean? And I'm not gonna put the blame game on all police officers. Who have some good police officers. Can you can you
Almost.
can you okay,
It's trying, man.
are we there?
Up there, I think you back.
I'm sorry. Okay. But yeah, I, I okay. I just want people to take something out of it and know that there's help out there, and that take time and learn the process, and things will work out. So, I'm trying to expand my business. It's a slow process, but I don't have nothing but time. Eventually, we'll branch out into other communities, and we're gonna make this thing work.
Word up, word up. I really want to just give my thanks and appreciation for the time you've taken out today, the time you spent just talking to me and explaining what you do and how you do it in this time. It really is like it's been such a pleasure, and I'm excited to see how your company flourishes, like, and how it flourishes into and integrates into our greater community, because it's a beautiful thing what you all are doing. And I'm so thankful that this is the journey that has been pressed upon your life, because certainly something kept calling you and pulling you to like go further, go a little further, and go further. You know, like I noticed that that's how you explained it yourself. Was like, I got this. Let's see what else I can get. Got that. Let's see what else I can get. And I just think that's like super dope, man. Like that's such a cool thing. All right.
And if I could say this, I really appreciate uh, your podcast taking out to give me the platform to advertise my business, and not only that, just to talk about my journey. And I firmly believe the more popular show to get the word out there to our communities and to our Black people. So my hat goes off to you. I appreciate it, and again, I thank you. And this is the beginning of a bigger process, you know. So hopefully, I'll be on your show many more times, and with better news. So I appreciate it, and I thank you for having me.
Most definitely. Most definitely. I'm looking forward to it. So that'll do it for today. Thank you so much, Reggie. Thank you for your wife. Thank you for the community that tuned in today. Appreciate everybody. Thank you for everybody who wished me a happy anniversary. Some of you know, but more you know now. Today is mine and my husband Christian Hughes' first anniversary. Shout out to C Money. That's me and him. Ain't we cute? We cute. But shout out to my husband, my loving husband, who is absolutely supportive. We are so thankful for everyone who tuned in today. This was such a great show, like such a great why am I blanking on words today? Anyway, such a great guest with such great purpose. If you have not had the privilege of meeting, running into Reggie Smith, I do recommend that you do. If you do have an event coming up and need security, definitely reach out to JDJ Private Security. Their number is 412-721-0453. His email is lap6903@gmail.com. I will get his the link for his website, and I'll post that in the comments so that you all can check that out as well. But please do support this Black business, especially because like it's not just a Black business. It's not just a business that happens to be owned by a Black person. This man and his family intends to pour into our community the way the community has poured into him. He got so much out of life, like, you know, like he has all of these great experiences, and he's not taking them and running with them. He's taking them and feeding them back into our community, and we absolutely need it, right? Safety is paramount. Safety is paramount, like, and they're doing their thing. So thank you all for joining us today. I'm looking forward to our next episode. We'll be covering all things Hazelwood with Miss Son Cole, Auntie Son. So definitely check us out then. Until then, y'all be good. Have a good one.